Hi, this is Dekel from Kindness 365, the 1-year kindness challenge. This is the first core lesson video, and these are videos that we're doing. They're going to be a little longer than the challenges videos because we're going to talk about all kinds of topics. And the topic that I'm going to speak about today is the relationship between kindness and overall happiness, which is very important. It's the first video because it's important that we understand why are we doing this challenge and how it can help us increase our overall day-to-day happiness. So if you ask 10 people what they want to achieve in life, 9 out of them will tell you, well, it's very easy, I just want to be happy. And now wanting to be happy is cool, it's excellent idea. The thing with wanting to be happy, it's like wanting to have wisdom or wanting to have that awesome beach body, but without really asking yourself, well, how can I get it without working really hard for it? So obviously you can't be you can be very wise or have a lot of wisdom without life experience, without reading a lot of books, without doing a lot of things that would allow you to gain that wisdom, or getting that beach body without working out, going to the gym and eating healthy food. So happiness, like that awesome body or wisdom, is a consequence. It's a consequence of a lot of different things. So then you have to ask yourself, what are those things that would lead to happiness? Like you would ask, what are the things that would lead to an awesome body? And a lot of people, they think that it's easy, especially when you're young and kind of like your view on life is a little bit superficial. You think, oh, I just want, if I'll just have money, I'll be happy. Or if I'll just have a gorgeous girlfriend, if I'll have a big house, if I'll travel a lot, then I'll be happy. And of course, these things are very, very superficial and very far from reality. I can speak from my own experience. I went on a big trip traveling around the world, and I found myself doing only things that I enjoyed. So only partying and going out and having fun and drinking and being on the beach and reading books. And then that didn't make me happy, it made me miserable. And it can make you happy on the short term because you're having a vacation and you're resting and it's awesome. But on the long term, that doesn't make any sense. That will not lead to happiness. On the contrary, that will make you unhappy, that will make you miserable even. The same way that super wealth or super celebrity can make you miserable. Because these are things that actually separate you and take you further from the things that really can make somebody happy. For example, connections with other people. So celebrities, celebrity couldn't even stand here without being surrounded by tons of people and him having to run away to his armored car. A celebrity a lot of times can't go on a date. I read the interview with Jennifer Lawrence, and she said that she didn't have a date for 2 years, she didn't have sex for 2 years because everybody assumes that she has a boyfriend and she doesn't. And people who walk up to her, of course, they're nervous because she's this famous actress who makes $20 million for a movie. I mean, what guy can handle that, right? So she's lonely and she doesn't have a date and she's unhappy, but she's a celebrity who's making $20 million for a movie. So obviously the superficial things that people think that would make them happy, they don't make them happy, they make them miserable. So what does make you happy? And it turns out that happiness rests on 2 pillars, which cover a whole lot of the factors that would make you happy. And these 2 pillars are living a meaningful life and everyday moment to moment positive emotions. Very simple, and these 2 things are things which are under our control. So now I'm going to break down each of these pillars and talk about them. So the first pillar is living a meaningful life. What does it mean, living a meaningful life? Maybe having children. Yeah, that's also part of it. No, it's not. Living a meaningful life is, well, in a sense it is. It's a feeling that your life affects other people's life in a positive way. So let's say people are teachers, people who are police officers, people who are nurses or doctors. In the everyday they interact with people and they can feel that they have a positive, life-saving sometime or life-changing interactions with other people. So they touch other people's life and that gives their life meaning. Now, why is it important? Well, we are social creatures. Everybody knows this famous experiment that they did, that they proved that children or babies who live without connection with others, with adults, babies who are they grow up without being held in their hands, their mental development is very stuck and stifled, and babies who are not touched, they can literally die, which is mind-blowing. But it's also quite obvious because we're social people, and we need to have these connections with other people. That's what stimulates our brain, and that's what connects us with our society, with it used to be our tribe or our community where we lived. So obviously, because we're social people, interacting with other people and having positive effect on other people affects our own lives, because if we live in a small society, tribe, community, strengthening the community increases our chances of survival, right? So our brains are hardwired to see that as a positive thing, and I think that every person can relate to it, doing something nice for another person and then feeling good about themselves. And I think that that's why me and Joel took on ourselves this challenge, because we really wanted to be active about it. We want to be active and take action in not only doing these positive things, but also helping others do it, so it's compounded, hopefully. So that's major, that's very important. And maybe you can ask yourself, you're asking yourself now, okay, so I should quit my job and go and become a doctor? No, the nice thing is that every person can frame his work, almost every person can frame what he's doing in a way that will see that he's positively affecting other people. So I'll give you an example. I like to think about construction workers. Construction workers, they work someplace, they build some house, they wake up at 4 in the morning, work really hard, finish to build a house, and they go to the next house. How does that affect other people? Where of course they put a roof above people's head, right? But that's not enough. Even if you reframe it like that, the right thing to do is, somebody's a construction worker, he can say, okay, I'm going to go to that address where I worked last year, and I'm going to actually meet the people who live in the house that I helped constructed. So he would go and knock on the door and see these people, speak with these people, and then he could really connect, have a physical connection with the people whose life he affected and changed in a positive way. Or for example, they did an experiment where they took people who were doing customer service in a company like Amazon, and these people take 50, 100, 500 calls a day, who knows how many. And then of course it becomes automatic, and it becomes kind of they don't really feel that they interact with people, just because it's a phone call, and it's just another phone call, another phone call, another phone call, and there's no face behind it, right? So what they did is they said, okay, we're going to bring actual customers to meet the customer support team once a month, and these people will interact with our customer support team, and they can meet each other, and the customers can tell to the customer support team about their experiences dealing with them. So then of course immediately as they did it, customer support team, who usually only speaks on the phone with these people, they become much more engaged in their work. Their productivity went by 30%. It just changed everything, right? And again, you can do it, whatever your work is, you can do it. If you work in a bank and you're just a teller in a bank, you can make every customer leave the bank feeling that he's Warren Buffett, that he just had a service like he's a billionaire, right? If you're an Uber driver, you can be kind to every driver, every passenger, not because they have to rate you afterwards, but really because you realize, oh, it's very important that I interact with other people and interact with them and ask them how they're doing, but from a real place of interest, not just from an automatic place. And that's a big danger, that a lot of times corporations, they force this automatic behavior on people. You're walking to a Starbucks and the barista says, oh, hi, how are you today, good morning, but you don't really feel the connection. And this is especially true in the US. In the US, a lot of times you interact with people and you feel that their interactions are a little bit mechanical, but that's a topic for a different video. So so to summarize, doesn't matter what you're doing, what your work is, you can give it meaning. You can give it meaning, you can see how you affect other people in a positive way. And you know what? I think that this is so important, that if you're thinking about your work and you realize that actually, really, no, I'm not affecting anybody. I find it hard to believe that actually any work doesn't affect positively somebody, because the whole idea of capitalism and commerce is that you're giving a service or doing something for somebody which he needs, right? Even if you're an accountant and you work in your office and you do accounting for a big firm, you can still find a way to see how it helps them, right? But let's say what you're doing doesn't affect anybody positively. Maybe you need to change your job, because this is huge. You know, waking up in the morning and working, if you work 5 times a week, you need to feel that what you do is important and has meaning. I know that I write short stories, and a lot of times I would write something and I would send it to people by email. And then they would write me, oh, it was great. And I'm like, oh, great, thank you. But then a few months ago, I was just hanging out with a female friend, and we were talking about it, and I showed her my stories. And she read the first story, and I looked at her when she was reading it, and I could see that she was laughing and smiling and enjoying herself. And then as soon as she finished reading it, she said, do you have another one? And I'm like, sure. And then I gave her another story, and she read it again, the next story, and she was like, okay, do you have another one? And I just gave her like 5 or 6, one after the other. And it was the first time after, you know, working for a long time on these stories that I could see somebody really, the effect that my writing had on somebody, and it was huge. It just gave me a lot of motivation to continue writing. So this is the first pillar, living a meaningful life. And the second pillar is having day-to-day positive emotions in the moment by moment. So if you think about your life, the everyday is built from hundreds of small moments of 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, right? You're always living in the now, and we're always living in small chunks of moments that make up our day. As it turns out, life, it's kind of weird to say it, but life is very mechanical in a way. And if you have positive moments throughout the day, and you have more positive emotions, more positive moments than negative ones, the overall feeling that you will have before you go to sleep is a positive one. And there's even a ratio to this, and the ratio is 1 positive moment for every 1 negative one. And I will go in a second. I will explain why. So first of all, what is a positive moment? Positive moment is that you shake somebody's hand. A positive moment is that you send an email to somebody, ask them how they're doing. Positive moment is that you, I hate to say it, but watch a cute cats video on Facebook, and it's all cute, and the cats are cute, and you have a warm, positive emotion about it, right? So the more you have these positive moments throughout the day, and these moments add up to days of positivity, weeks of positivity, years of positivity, it builds up to your whole life of good, positive emotions, and that in the end means that you had a happy life. Now there's 2 ways to measure happiness. One of them is look at the person's life in the end, right? So let's say you go to somebody, and on his deathbed you ask him, did you have a good life or a bad life? So the rich person, the famous person, let's say, will tell you, oh, of course I had a good life. I was traveling, and I won the Oscar, and I did all these things, and everybody knows me. But then if you go back and you look at the everyday, that person worked really hard, couldn't go out and walk in the street like we said before, he's in a very competitive industry, and it's all, you know, sharks that have to cut each other's throats. So when you look at that kind of happiness in the end of the life, then yeah, a lot of times countries, wealthy countries come up at the top, countries like the Scandinavian countries. But when you look at day-to-day happiness, like how are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? How did you feel last week? Actually, the 10 countries at the top, or 9 out of 10, where people report having very positive day-to-day emotions, are third world countries. Countries like Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama, mostly in South America. Even if the people are poor, they're still happy. They're still happy because they do all these other things that we're talking about. You know, they're very warm people, they dance, they're connected to each other, they make each other happy, they have big families, etc. So again, now we're going back to why it's important, the ratio, and that life is actually, in a way, it's mathematical. And here it's both in terms of happiness, and this is even used to predict what are the chances that a couple will still be together a few years after they get married. And this is really, can blow your mind. Basically, when they did the research and they realized all these things, they look at couples and they look at how they interact with each other the first weeks of their marriage. So they would put them and they would have them to have a conversation for 20 minutes, and then they counted how many positive statements or positive interactions they had between themselves and how many negative ones. And the couples that had more negative interactions with each other, they predicted that they would break up and be divorced. And the accuracy was something like 95% or even more. It's just mind-blowing. They knew they're going to get divorced, and indeed they did. And that couple, no, they were nice to each other, all positive interaction. 10 years later, they were still married. And it's the same with happiness. It turns out that if you have, like I said, five times more positive emotion than negative ones, your overall happiness will be high. And the reason for this ratio is very interesting. So when you have a positive emotion, your body releases oxytocin, the feel-good hormone. And when you have a negative interaction or experience, traumatic one, then your body releases cortisol. Now the thing is that cortisol is 5 times stronger than oxytocin. It stays in the blood 5 times longer. Now let's go even deeper and ask why. Well, the reason is that good emotions and good interactions, they're very, very important. They will increase the quality of your life, but they will not kill you. They're not dangerous for you. Bad emotions, bad experiences, traumas, they can literally kill you. So the brain is wired to kind of like remember more bad experiences. You know, we a lot of times we have good things happen to us all the time, but what we remember is that when we were 6, our teacher told us like a bad comment in front of everybody. Why? Because it's a traumatic thing and our brains just remember more trauma. And yeah, they remember more trauma because that's life-saving, right? If you almost died because you walked into the wrong alley, or because you were trying to pet a lion, 3,000 years ago in some I don't know, in some place in Africa, and the lion almost killed you, the brain chemistry will change itself, so you remember to stay away from that alley or from that lion, right? So negative emotion, traumatic experiences are much stronger. So we need to constantly work on having more positive moments, more positive emotions. And here is where our challenge comes in, right? Because our challenge is about being kind to other people, being kind to other people on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, creating the habit of kindness. And when you actually do that in a conscious way, you increase the number of positive moments that you have throughout the day and week and year, right? So, and overall increase your happiness. So just to recap, we said happiness rests on 2 pillars: meaningful life, doing good for others, which of course relates again to our challenge, and then moment to moment, 5 times more good positive moments than negative ones. And in the end, you're covered. You wanted happiness, you got all the secrets right here. So thank you very much for listening, and you probably should get another kindness challenge in the email soon. So good luck with that, and see you next time.